Phillip Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Can I begin by congratulating members for their contributions, in particular the member for Keighley, who really did make a wonderful contribution, and the member for Penrith, who offered a characteristically informed contribution on the present situation in Libya. Can I start by saying that I'm going to be supporting the motion this evening, supporting it because of humanitarian reasons. We've already seen the benefit of the action that's been taken in Benghazi on the ground, and for that reason alone I will be supporting the motion. And I'd like to congratulate the Prime Minister and indeed the Foreign Secretary and indeed everyone involved in securing the United Nations support for this action. In the light of Iraq and other events, it's so important that there is a widespread support throughout the Arab world and the wider world. If you allow me, I'd like to step back from just talking about Libya and ask ourselves what our foreign policy should be. Because it strikes me that the men who carry the burdens of the office of state on the front bench at the moment are in power at a time when foreign policy in the Middle East, as dictated by previous foreign secretaries and previous officials at the Foreign Office, is crumbling. It was a foreign policy based upon the realpolitik that we needed the gas, we needed the oil, we needed to deal with who was in power. We can forget the masses because they don't know what's going on. Well, the reality is that because of the creation of something called the internet, ironically by the Free West, the people on the Arab street, as we keep referring to, know exactly what's going on. They can see it. It's why it's spread from Tunisia to Egypt to Libya to Yemen, and now I fear also to Syria. So I think foreign policy needs to be rethought in that, with the reality of the fact that people know what's going on now. And we cannot afford to be inconsistent. We cannot afford to be incoherent. The second thing I'd like to say is, that actually our approach to Libya is somewhat dictated about what we think we are about as a country. We have a permanent seat on the Security Council, something that gives us power. But it also gives us quite a heavy responsibility. And we are a free nation, and it begs the question whether, as a free nation, we should try to support others who want to be free. I realise the reality of our situation with regards to Bahrain and with Saudi Arabia. We are oil dependent. We are fossil fuel dependent in this country. We still are. In 1973, the Yom Kippur War, the subsequent energy crisis, how did we respond? Well, we started digging for stuff in the North Sea, didn't we? How did the French respond? They started building nuclear power stations. I wonder actually whether our response should not just be a response to the humanitarian crisis that could have ensued in Libya, but our response maybe should be, what should our energy policy be going forward, so that we don't feel uncomfortable sanctioning this intervention in Libya, which I fully support, and perhaps not sanctioning it in Syria, and not sanctioning it in the wider Arab Peninsula. Because at the moment we are somewhat compromised, are we not, by our dependence upon the black gold. And maybe we shouldn't be. And in view of the fact that technology exists for us not to be, I would suggest that the sooner we are not, the better. In closing, I wanted to share with you a small anecdote. I was recently in Syria on a delegation, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I went to the British Council and I met with some students who had the opportunity, provided by the British Council, to learn English. My colleagues and I asked a series of questions, as you might imagine, about Egypt and Libya, initially cautious, they began to open up. At the end of the meeting, one of the students said, in answer to how he viewed the British Council, he said, "It's my bubble of oxygen. It is my opportunity to express myself." That stays with me. It's why I'm happy to support this motion. But if we are to be consistent and coherent and have the respect of the Middle East, I think we need to start looking at our dependence upon oil and gas, because without doing so, we're going to be having these debates over and over again. Thank you.
Katie Clark.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker.